So let's see, what's this? Helpful. Let's try this. Oh, helpful and unhelpful desire in the path, acceptance, four opponent powers, and guilt versus regret. Okay. So let's start out just with some meditation. Yeah, calm the mind, then we'll set our motivation, and then we'll talk about guilt. Just what you want to talk about. But we'll talk about also how to pacify guilt, how to, see how guilt is an unrealistic and unbeneficial mental state. Okay, so come back to your breath. And you can focus either on your abdomen and watch it rise and fall as you inhale and exhale, or focus at the nostrils and the upper lip and feel the sensation of the air as you inhale and exhale. Don't go back and forth between those two places. Pick one place and focus there. Or you could just the whole experience of breathing and the air going in and out of your body. Let's cultivate our motivation. So expand your mind to think of the different human beings on this planet, living in different countries, having all sorts of experiences right at this very moment. Some feeling happy, some being tortured, and everything in between. And then think of all the insects, the birds, all the beings that are flying, and all the beings underwater, all the kind of marine life. If we tried to count all these other living beings, it would be incredible. And by comparison, we human beings are very small in number. Then expand your mind further and think of other places in the universe. It's a big universe. And it's filled with many different life forms. And our senses can't always see them. Our senses are actually quite limited. So when you look up at the stars in the evening, you could think that they're like our sun and then planets around and so many living beings on those various planets. And everybody having their own experience at this very moment. Everybody wanting happiness, trying to be happy, going around trying to get what they want, and everybody wanting to be free of pain and suffering. Again, doing everything they can to dispel that. And yet, because of ignorance, people don't know what is the cause of happiness and what is the cause of suffering. And so, wanting happiness, not suffering, living beings usually go about it by creating the causes for more suffering and not for the happiness they want, because they don't understand what really causes happiness and what really causes suffering. So they're trying their best, but actually it's not working. And that's a really sad situation. And we're in the middle of it too. We're no different. So let's respond to this sad situation with compassion, wanting everybody to be free of misery and its causes. So we're incredibly fortunate to have met the Buddhist teachings that teach us how to change our own minds and create the cause of happiness, purify the causes of suffering. But to think only of our own welfare, our own liberation, our own happiness is really rather narrow compared to all these countless number of living beings who are exactly like us, wanting happiness, not pain. And so let's generate an altruistic intention, wanting to develop our own good qualities, wanting to even become a fully awakened Buddha, so that we can be of the greatest benefit to all these other living beings. And we do that not because we're better than them, but because we're just like them. We have a little bit of fortune right now. And because all those living beings have been kind to us in one way or another throughout our beginningless lives. Okay, so we started a couple of days ago talking about guilt, yeah, and contrasting it with regret. Okay, regret is you do something, you see that's not going to lead to anything good, you regret it. Yeah, and together with regret, you've learned something, and you're not going to put your hand on that hot stove again. Yeah. So in terms of karma, you know, if we create some kind of negative karma and then we regret it and look back at the situation and, you know, what were we thinking? What were we trying to get out of acting like that? And then, you know, we really see the defects of that kind of action. So of course we regret doing it. And together with that comes a feeling of not wanting to do it again. Some things, it's difficult to say I'm never going to do again. Okay, can you completely truthfully say you will never gossip again? How about for 3 days? Can you abstain from gossiping for 3 days? Yeah, okay. So when you're doing your purification, if you have some confidence, you can abstain from gossiping. You're regretting it. Then you say, okay, for 3 days, I'm going to be really, really careful and not gossip. Then after 3 days, you can see how you did. Yeah. Oh, that wasn't too bad. I can do that. Let's do it for another 3 days. So you give yourself small amounts of time and things that you can learn from. Now, you might find in that, oh, I forgot. There was some really juicy bit of gossip here, and, you know, I just got into it, and then bad-mouthing somebody. So it wasn't just gossip, it was also divisive speech, talking bad about somebody behind their back. Okay, I didn't make it 3 days. Let's regret it again. Okay, this time let's try for 2 days and see how I can go. But you give, you know, yourself short periods of time like that. Some things we do, yeah, we can look back and say, I will never do that again. You know, it's just like, no, no way. I do not, absolutely do not want for the rest of my life to get involved in that. Yeah. And so then you can make that kind of determination. You know, I'm not going to do that. So that might be for like bigger things that cause a lot of damage. Yeah. But you see what it is, what, you know, for you, you're the one who decides. Okay? So that is a very clean, clear process because it's going to lead you to changing and your behavior changing, your motivation having to change, because you can't really change your behavior unless you change your mind. Yeah? Because the mouth doesn't move and the body doesn't move unless there's an intention. Okay, or unless the doctor hits you on your knee and you have an automatic reflex. But aside from those, there's an intention. So we always have to look at the mind, what's motivating the mind, and start with that. Yeah. Okay. Guilt, on the other hand, guilt is dramatic, isn't it? It's like, oh, how could I have done that? Guilt is also judgmental. I am a sinner. I am full of shame for what I've done. You know, I am defective goods. I think shame brings out this thing of I was born this way and I'm defective goods and there's nothing to do about it, which is completely false, 100% false. Okay, but if we're taught that when we're young and we never hear any other ideas and we don't look inside to see our own goodness, then we kind of go along with what we're taught. Yeah. So I think one of the nice things about getting older is you can look back on some of the things you were taught as a kid and assess them and see, is this true or not true? Is this something I want to go through my life thinking and doing and believing? Or is it something that somebody mentioned to me, but I don't really believe it and I don't want to act according to this? You know, and that's the nice thing, because you can, you know, you're at the point now, I mean, we're all at the point now where we can think about these things and make decisions. When you're a little kid, you know, whatever adults say, it kind of goes in and you believe, you know, because your faculties aren't really developed. But now you can start to think, you know, somebody said, you're sinful from the beginning. Is that true? Yeah. Okay, I came in, if you believe in karma, I came in with some negative karma. Does that mean I'm damaged goods? Does that mean that I'm forever sinful and, you know, I can't do anything? Yeah. Then you have to think about that. Yeah. Who made up these rules? Is it somebody else's rules, or are the rules natural, a description of the natural process of cause and effect? So, for example, the Buddha never said, "Thou shalt not kill." Yeah, he didn't give an order. He said, "Look at your body, speech, and mind when you take a life." Yeah, what's going on in your mind? What are you doing? What's the effect of it on others? What's the effect of it on yourself? Yeah? How did you get yourself in that situation? Because it wasn't just one cause, it was a whole bunch of causes. Okay? And so you think about that, and then you realize, oh, you know, I'm a conditioned phenomena. What I learn and from other people, how the environment influences me, I take all of that in, yeah. But now I can see that some things, because I'm not, you know, I have a lot of bad habits and a lot of wrong ways of thinking. I can see that putting myself in some situations is not very smart, yeah. And so I'm going to try and keep myself out of some situations, and I'm going to try and watch my mind and cultivate positive thoughts that will lead me to do good actions instead of just letting my mind go here and there according to whatever the wrapper says. Yeah? Not your candy wrapper, the other wrapper. Okay. So, you know, you use your wisdom there, and then that helps you change your behavior. But there's no thing of, you know, like this, I'm hopeless. You know, I'm totally evil inside. There's nothing I can do. I'm always going to be like this. That view is totally wrong. Yeah. Okay. So we do make mistakes in our life. And then the key is, do we make amends? Do we purify those mistakes? Or do we rationalize them, justify them, suppress them, pretend, blame somebody else? Yeah. Or do we really learn from things? Yeah. If we can learn from our mistakes, then we really come out much better than before. Yeah. And, I know this through my own experience of doing these purification practices, how, when you really purify, all that kind of heavy feeling that you have, it goes away, But you can see that some people they've never learned purification practice, or they're very entrenched in the worldview of, I'm a sinner, there's nothing I can do, except somebody else made the rules and I have to kind of follow their rules and please them, and then they'll do something for me. Okay, that again, is a theistic view we don't find in Buddhism. Yeah. In Buddhism, we're very much responsible, which is good because then we can change the situation. Somebody else is responsible, then what are we going to do? Yeah. So, yeah. So I've really seen that oftentimes, so many of our negative deeds occur. Well, some happen because of attachment. We think something is just so wonderful, we have to have it, and we run after it. Yeah. And then we create a lot of negative actions to get what we want. Yeah. Or sometimes we act adversely because we see somebody as having harmed us, and I've got to retaliate and stick up for myself and show them who's boss, that kind of stuff. But if we don't make peace with the past and at least acknowledge our involvement in situations, then we go through life just in denial of so many things. And, when you get old, naturally, your body gets bent over. But I think some people get bent over mentally too. It's like they just stockpile these errors they made in life. And instead of saying, yeah, I made a mistake, and analyzing it, not crazy psychoanalysis where you're picking at every little detail and what did they mean when they looked at me that way? And what do they mean with this word? Not that kind of stuff. That's what we usually do, isn't it? Yeah. You go round and around analyzing your relationships. Not that kind of analysis, but really looking and saying, okay, when I think that way, then I act that way, then how do I feel about myself? Yeah. What kind of energy am I sending out into the world? Yeah. And because I send something out, what is coming back at me? Because it's kind of like a boomerang. Yeah. So then you learn, and then your mistakes actually help you to become a better person because you've learned from them. Yeah. So rather than going through life going, oh, I bungled this and I made a mess of that, and, I'm just like, or going through life of, oh, this person did this to me and that person did that to me and the world's so unfair and how come I can't get what I want? Either of those two views, pity or anger and revenge, instead of doing that, we're able to make peace with the past, learn from it, and go forward in our life with a clear mind. Yeah. And yeah, because we learned something important. Yeah. So we often talk about the kindness of sentient beings. So the kindness of friends and most family members, not necessarily everybody, you know, we can see, yeah, we can see their kindness. Kindness of strangers is a little bit harder because we don't know them, yeah. But we can see, oh yeah, they helped me at the gas station, in the supermarket, on the telephone, you know, people I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we don't know any of the people building the Buddha Hall, but you know, after some time, we're going to have a Buddha Hall to do our practices in and hear teachings in. And it's due to their kindness, even though you know we don't know them. I mean, I wave to all the guys every day. I don't know their names. I don't know anything about their lives. Yeah, but I see that you know they're being kind through their work. Okay, then what about the people we don't like, the people who harm us? We put all those categories, all those people in a category called enemies, even though you know they're not Osama bin Laden. Or you know, actually, you know, why should I hate Osama bin Laden? Why? I mean, this guy was really confused. You know, why should I hate Donnie? Yeah. I disagree with his actions, but I don't hate him. You know, why? Because he has the Buddha nature, is the possibility to change. Yeah. Even though he's going to get arraigned at 3:00 Eastern today. No, my happiness is not because I don't want him to suffer, but I want the country to know that there is one law that everybody follows. Yeah, and that nobody is above that law. I think that's incredibly important for the survival of our country as a democracy. Yeah, so I don't want him to suffer, but you know, this has to be made very clear to people. Yeah. Anyway, so we learn from our mistakes, and then, especially if it's other people who did something and then we get angry at them, yeah, we have to look and see what was my part in the situation. Yeah, because we in our culture, we want to find one cause for things, one cause, put it all on one person. Life is much more complex than that. Yeah, there may be, I mean, even if we look at Donnie, you know, what he did. Okay, so he did those things, but other people helped him. And the attitude of a lot of people in Congress, I won't mention who, you can probably guess, yeah, just thought, yeah, we support him. He can't do any wrong. So he felt, you know, oh, I have all these supporters and these people who, you know, I can manipulate, and they're not going to denounce me because, you know, he's so skillful in manipulation, you know. And so if he didn't have the support of the other people in Congress, if he didn't have the support of how many people, just the regular general citizens, he couldn't do what he's doing. So you can't put everything on him. You know, there's a whole environment. And it's not just an environment that came about, you know, in 2016 when some guy went down an escalator, you know, then the whole world changed. No, things have been building up to this. Yeah. And yeah, I'm reading a very interesting book. It's called Formidable by Elizabeth Griffin. And it's about the women's movement, women's struggle for equality. But she also goes into the racial struggle for equality as well. And it's amazing, to read this history, because you see what people are saying 200 years ago are the same things people are saying now. Some situations have changed, some things have been legislated, but in terms of people's way of thinking, some people's way of thinking is exactly, seems to be exactly the same as before, and what they're saying is exactly the same. Yeah, so we can't just say, oh, all the people who have racial bias and gender bias and, sexual bias and all these other things, we can't say it all just started. There's a whole history. And so there's so many causes and conditions, that have to come together over many, many years, and people in many, many places to form this moment. And so we can't just put it all on one person. And especially in a personal situation, if I don't get along with a family member, let's say, it's not just what they're doing. I'm contributing to it in some way. Okay, that doesn't mean I'm bad, but it does mean that if I change, the other person is going to have to change. Yeah. So you might notice in a family, do different people in your family have typical roles? Yeah. One person is, the one who kind of likes to pick fights, and one person is the one who likes to say, no, you're wrong, and one person just gets out of the thing. They don't have anything to do with it, but everybody's trying to drag them in, and they keep saying no. And then one person, just wants to go fishing, and somebody else is attached to video games, and they're oblivious to the whole situation. Yeah, so it's interesting that people kind of have different roles that they play in a family. And if one person changes, the whole system has to change. Okay, so you might notice, at a family dinner, that there's two family members who like to pick at each other. Yeah. And then there's probably one family member that's probably coming in and saying, hey, you guys, just cool it, chill out, don't do that. And the two people who are picking at each other ignore that person and say, mind your own business, even though that person's trying to pacify the situation. Okay. But these two people, it's like, they just go after each other. Yeah. Now, if you're one of those people, and you can be saying, it's that one's fault, they're picking at me, they always insult me, they're competing with me, and they're better, and I'm jealous, and why don't they respect me? Okay, and so as a result, you're wanting to get even, so you criticize them, you compete with them, you accuse them of stuff and exaggerate what they've done. Yeah. You think you're creating the cause of happiness because you feel a little bit more powerful when you take your anger out on somebody else. Yeah. Is that real power? It's not real power. It's totally false power. But we fall for it. We fall for it. And then, of course, the other person is returning all that hostility back to us. So we hate them more, we want more revenge, and the cycle just keeps going. If we decide, hey, okay, I'm tired of that cycle, that person can say whatever they want to me, I'm not going to take it seriously. I don't have to take it personally. It's just them venting or them, competing. But I don't have to buy it. Okay, it's like if a fisherman throws out a hook, yeah. If you're a smart fish, you don't bite it. Yeah, you swim right past it. So that in the same way, if you can tell somebody's throwing out a hook, yeah, you don't bite the hook. Yeah. And then you realize, oh my goodness, wow, life looks different when I don't bite the hook. I don't have to get so upset all the time. Whew. And somebody, my sibling competes, they want to be better. That's okay. I have different talents. They have different talents. I don't have to compete with them, So then you learn from your mistake, yeah? And you put all that anger and resentment down, and you're just like, oh, wow, life feels better now, And if people did have a bad motivation and intentionally harmed you, you forgive them because you realize forgiving somebody doesn't mean that what they did is okay. No, what they did could have been horribly non-virtuous. So it's not saying non-virtuous virtue. It's when you forgive, you're just saying, I have better things to do with my time than be angry. Yeah. And really, we do have better things to do with our life than be angry, don't we? Yeah. Anger just keeps us, and I think that's why a lot of people, as they get old, yeah, they get more bent over, maybe even physically, not only mentally, because they're carrying all these things that they've never made peace with. Yeah. So when you can actually learn from your mistakes or learn from a bad situation, yeah, then the person who harmed you, you can turn around and actually thank. Yeah, if you hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have learned what I have learned. And what I've learned, I wouldn't have learned any other way. So thank you, for putting me in that situation where I could grow. Yeah. Okay, so then there's no guilt on my part because I'm just owning my part, which is what I did. And their part, I am not taking responsibility for, but I'm not blaming them for it either. Okay, this is something that people pleasers do, is they take responsibility for other people's feelings and other people's actions. And they take responsibility for things that are not their responsibility. And then they feel like they have to fix people. I'm going to fix you. I don't care if you want to be fixed or don't want to be fixed, but I'm going to fix you. And some of you brought that out yesterday or the day before when we were talking about friends and how, you don't like friends who give you advice that you didn't ask for. Well, that's, they're often people pleasers, but they're also Mr. and Ms. Fix-It. Yeah. And then some people like to be Mr. or Ms. Fix-It because then they feel, powerful in some way. Yeah. I know how you should live your life because I'm so smart. I don't know how I should live my own life, but forget that. I know how you should live your life because if you did this and stopped doing that, then I would be happy. But I never look and say, if I stop doing this and I do that, then I will be happy. Okay. So let me give you an example. I'm kind of veering off the main topic, but I'll come back. An example of a really bad, what I thought was a really bad situation that hurt me very much. But boy, am I glad now that it happened. Okay, so once upon a time, I was the resident teacher at a particular Dharma center, and there was one person on the board who was, we were working hand in hand to organize things, and he was really reliable, very kind, and, you know, I could trust him, and, you know, we got a lot done. Then it was my birthday, and even though I say I don't believe in birthdays, well, you know, the group at the Dharma Center decided to have like a little party, you know, just something, a few cookies. And he didn't come, but somebody brought a card from him that said, basically, I'm dropping out of the group. You know, I can't, I'm having some difficulty, you know, with some of the things that the teachings are saying, and you know, I don't want to come anymore. Okay, so that was very hurtful to me because it was somebody that I trusted, and I felt my trust had been betrayed. And then to do it suddenly with absolutely no explanation. Yeah. And then on my birthday. Oh, yeah. So I was really upset because to me, trust is a very important thing. In relationships, trust is very important. If I can't trust somebody, you know, it's difficult. And if trust is broken, one of the things I learned from this is that if trust is, it doesn't take very much to break trust, but it takes a lot to reestablish it. Okay. So I was really upset. I won't go into the whole drama, but I can if you really want to hear about it. Yeah, so I was just so upset. And, you know, and he stopped coming, and that was it. Okay. So, and then as it happened, I was going into retreat sometime after that. So retreat is a very nice time. You have time to really stop and look at your own mind and, you know, put the teachings into practice a little bit better. And what I realized is, you know, why was I so hurt? Because I had very unrealistic expectations of him. Yeah. When somebody is initially very kind and cooperative and so on, then the mind develops the thing of they're always going to be this way. Yeah. They're never going to have any problems. They're never going to have doubts. They're never going to have other things going on in their life that might upset them. They're always going to be the way I see them right now. Okay, so I had a very unrealistic expectation of him, and I had to own that. Yeah, it's true what he did was not cool, okay, but if I hadn't had the unrealistic expectations, I wouldn't have been so hurt. And I probably, because of my unrealistic expectations, pressured him. You know, oh, he's so efficient, he does so many things well, I'll give him more things to do. Yeah, and then that added to pressure. So I had to really sit and own my part of it. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I expected things. I thought there was an agreement that we never talked about. I thought the agreement was that he was always going to be the perfect assistant. But I never checked that out with him. And I never defined perfect assistant to him. Yeah. So this, this was my responsibility. So as it turned out, a couple of years later, he came back and apologized. Yeah. But by that time, I didn't need an apology. Yeah. Because when I saw my role in it and owned that, yeah, then I don't need him to apologize because I see that I contributed to it. Okay. So in that way, you can sometimes look and say, oh, my enemy was kind, because by what they did, I learned some very important things that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. Yeah? So that's a very, very good way to familiarize, in your meditation, to take out things from the past and practice thinking like that. Okay? But you have to be very clear. Seeing your role in it does not mean blaming yourself. Taking responsibility is not the same as blame. I think there's a few words I think should be eliminated from English. Blame, fault, and sin. Okay? Because I think as soon as we use those words, we're falling into incorrect ways of thinking that cause suffering. Yeah. So if I take responsibility, I'm not blaming myself. I'm not blaming him. I'm learning from it. Yeah. And then that's good. Then your life is very creative because you go through life learning all the time instead of thinking, oh, okay, now, 21 is this big deal. Now I'm 21, I know everything. Actually, at 16, we thought we were already omniscient. Yeah? Didn't you at 16? My parents know nothing. Yeah. I am, almost at the level of Buddha. I know everything.
Even at the age of 9.
Yeah, huh?
Even at the age of 9.
Yeah.
I don't need to wear that coat. Okay, it's cold out here.
Yeah, but just, 16 is an interesting age, isn't it, Yeah, it's the age of, give me the car keys, but don't tell me what time to get home. Yeah. So, yeah. I won't go into that story. Yeah, but then you really see that you actually gain some wisdom as you're growing, which and that wisdom makes you a better person, and by better person, I mean that you harm others less, you're kinder more, you do more beneficial actions, and you feel better about yourself. Yeah. Because who wants to go through life feeling bad about yourself? Yeah. Okay, so we have to take responsibility and have regret, but don't fall into feeling bad about yourself, that something's, inextricably wrong with you, and I always make a mess out of everything. That's really inflated. It's like, I am so powerful, I can make a mess out of everything. Yeah. Why did this relationship fall apart? Oh, because it's everything I did. That's how powerful I am. Yeah, only me. I can make it fall apart. Only me. I can create this ruckus. That's a little bit self-centered, you know, a little bit arrogant. Yeah, we're not that powerful. Yeah.
So if you could reverse the time, would you go up to him and like talk it out with him to say that, oh, actually you should have talked to him about the pressure, the work? Will you apologize for that?
Yeah, I can't remember now if I apologized to him. I probably said something like, you know, we never actually sat down and talked it out, because at that point that wasn't necessary. I think he clearly had some regret because he apologized. I had some regret, and I, of course, accepted his apology. So at that point, it wasn't, you know, we didn't have to sit down and go through every detail of it.
But it will be the most, it will be a better situation whereby before he does something like that, he communicate and then you all iron things out and then.
Yeah. Or I communicate and say, oh, I expect you to be perfect.
I expected this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect means you do everything I want when I want you to do it. So do you agree to be perfect? Yeah. What's he gonna say?
Whoa.
Yeah. I'm not signing up for that one. Yeah. But this is what often happens in romantic relationships. You know, the first meeting, that person, wonderful, you know. Prince Charming rode in on his white horse. Finally, you've been waiting for him since you were 4 years old and, you know, embodied Cinderella. And then finally he showed up, you know, and, you know, and he's perfect. Yeah. Until he leaves his dirty socks on the floor and expects you to pick them up. You know, he does things that you don't think are so cool, but he doesn't tell you, and you find out by the by. Yeah. And then you go, what happened? He changed so much. Yeah. No, he didn't change. Yeah, we had unrealistic expectations. And of course, at the beginning of a relationship, you only show your good side to somebody. Yeah. You don't say, oh, you're so perfect, I'm going to show you all my rotten qualities. No, it's like, you know, we create an image. And especially nowadays, when you're on, what is it, Bumble? Bumble? Yeah, like you bumble into relationships. I don't know these things. I've never looked on the line for that. You know, I don't have any need for them.
People will like schools will like publicize it. So like at my university, there's people who will like sit at like desks, like students, and be like, download Bumble, download the dating apps, download the.
Oh, you mean down with it to get people to sign off it?
Yeah, to get people to download the app.
Oh, get on it.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. So then, you know, it sounds good, you know, you look at people, but it's shopping, isn't it? Yeah. And you're setting yourself up. You're creating the advertising for yourself as if you're an object and you want to talk somebody into buying you. Isn't that when you look at what's going on with dating apps? Yeah. I mean, And what does that do to your mind? Yeah. And what does that do to a relationship? I don't think it's very healthy. So, but that's my 2 cents. But yeah, but really, if you look, oh my goodness. And then all the things, everybody wants more, this. Okay, what is this? A little picture of this. Okay, here, I drew a little picture of a thumbs up. Why do you want these? Why do you want a picture of thumbs up? More, not one thumbs up, many thumbs up, right after your name. What does that do for you? What does it mean?
You get a tiny hit of serotonin.
Yeah. Yeah. What does it do for you in the long term? Absolutely nothing. Yeah. Because you're looking to other people to tell you who you are. Yeah? And if they go like this, oh, I'm a good person. If they go like this, I'm a bad person. But it's so superficial. If I have a good voice, they go like this. Does having a good voice make you a good person? You're off tune, they go like this. Yeah? Does that make you a bad person? What in the world are we, where are we getting our self-esteem from? It's really, it's not healthy. Because it's not, has nothing to do with reality, and then you hear of all these people getting, even young kids committing suicide because, they have so many of these. Yeah, you remember 6th grade? 6th grade, that was the one for me. Oh God, it's like, who likes who? Do these people like me? Do I like them? We used to make on Fridays, and the teacher thought we were doing writing lessons. We weren't. We were making lists of everybody in the class in order of how much we like them. Okay, I confess. I am taking responsibility for being a stupid 6th grader. Yeah, but this is what we did. Yeah. And it's totally, and then, you compare it to see who likes who, and, where am I on other people's lists, and then you judge yourself, Or remember also when they're selecting teams, so you have 2 team captains, and then they take turns choosing who's going to be on their team. Is that suffering or is that suffering? Yeah, that's suffering, isn't it? The same 2 people are always the first 2 people to be picked, and I'm always, I don't like playing games. I like doing things, hiking and these kinds of stuff, but I don't like competitive sports. Yeah. And where a ball goes, really, I think there's more important things in the world than that. But, in grammar school, where the ball goes is really important. You're playing dodgeball. Does the ball hit you or hit somebody else? The volleyball, is it caught in the net? Am I the one who threw it in the net? Oh, no. Nobody's going to like me. I'm not going to get picked on their teams. I'm going to be the last one in the class to get picked. Why is it always me? What's wrong with me? Yeah, you remember that? Yeah. how did we endure 6th grade? It might have been 5th grade for you, but 5th and 6th grade, yeah, they're difficult. Yeah, at least, back when I lived in the dinosaur age, I don't know now. But yeah, and we're just so cruel to each other then, really cruel. We'd make our list and we don't like these kids and make sure they see it. So it was horrible. I mean, I wish that some of the kids I went to school with, I knew where they were now and I could call and apologize for how I acted. Yeah, because I was really sometimes terrible. Yeah. Why? Yeah, because I was trying not to be at the bottom of the list. So if I criticize other people, they'll be at the bottom. I won't. Yeah. Stupid. Stupid. Yeah. It didn't help me. It didn't help them. It didn't help anything. Yeah. Except when we look to other people to tell us who we are and whether we're a good person, we are giving away our power. I don't know who I am, so you tell me who I am. You tell me if I'm good. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. Yeah, because we can't evaluate our own actions and take responsibility. We just look, you tell me who you are, So little Tyrone, somebody told him, I don't know when he was 4 or 5, that he was stupid and he'll never learn to read, and he believed that. Yeah, and I really hope when, I tried to counter that, but I hope he was able to eventually learn to evaluate his own actions and not believe what other people say. Yeah. So we often give away our power in that way, And it is hard to evaluate ourselves because we're so habituated with giving away our power. But it's also very humbling to evaluate ourselves because then we have to be honest about our mess-ups. Yeah, but there's a tremendous value because as soon as we can be honest about it, then we can purify it and we can put it down instead of carrying it around with us our whole lives. Yeah. Okay, so now that I got way off on that, let's come back to the 4 points of purification. Okay, so the first one is regret. Yeah, so I kind of talked about that in quite an expansive way here, which means taking responsibility for what we did. Okay, then the second one, I'm not giving you a literal translation on it, but I call it restoring the relationship. So this doesn't necessarily mean, that we have to become buddy friends and whatever again, because lots of times something happened a long time ago, I don't know where these kids in my 6th grade class are now to actually go and apologize. But mentally, I have transformed my attitude towards them. So restoring the relationship involves us changing our attitude towards somebody. Okay. No, they aren't a creep. They're, I'm as much as a creep as they are, but I'm sorry for what I did. And, there's real sorrow. And I'm going to be very careful in the future and not treat people that way. Yeah. So that's the part of regret and making some kind of determination to not do it again. But before I can get from regret to that determination, I have to change my attitude about whoever it was that I harmed. because if I can't change my attitude, then I can't say truthfully, I will never act that way again. Yeah. So I have to, restoring the relationship to me, yeah, well, also as it's explained in the text, it means with regard to other living beings, to, to want to have a compassionate attitude towards them instead of a spiteful attitude. Yeah. And and that really changes a lot when we can do that. Okay. So part of it comes from us admitting our part. Part of it comes from seeing that those people who harmed us, often they were incredibly confused. Yeah. Why in the world are they acting in such a hurtful way? It's because they don't know, how to be happy and avoid suffering. And they think, the basic thing is they think happiness and suffering come from outside. So they think if they chase what they want, they'll get happiness. If they slam what they don't want, they'll avoid suffering. And that's not the way it works when you understand karma, okay? And when you understand just on a human level how things operate. So, those people are very confused, but they mean well. Yeah. At the bottom of the day, they aren't, bottom of the, what is it?
End of the day.
Yeah, bottom of the day?
End of the day.
End of the day, yeah, thank you. At the end of the bottom of the day. At the bottom of the end of the day, at the day of the bottom of the end, we, I forgot the rest of the So, it comes to, us having a compassionate attitude and realizing that people have acted that way under the force of their own mental afflictions, their ignorance, anger, hatred, spite, jealousy, clinging attachment, greed. That's what motivated them. They didn't do that because they are inherently bad people. Yeah, they did that because they were confused. So I'm not going to hate them for being confused because I know what that's like. I'm often in the same state. Yeah. And so then forgiving simply means I'm not going to be angry about it anymore. Yeah. So it doesn't mean what the other person did was okay, but I'm going to stop being angry. And I'm going to stop going around with this anger and resentment or even fear of other beings because I've been able to put that down. So in must have been around 1998, 99, something like that. I had been going to Israel to teach at the request of some Jubus. Jubus, Jewish Buddhists.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of them, okay? People who grew up Jewish who are now Buddhists. If you look, many of the Dharma teachers, today came from that background. Anyway, so at their request, I had come there to teach. And we were doing a retreat. I think it was over Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement. Yeah, you're supposed to repent only once a year. Judaism, once a year, you regret, and that's good. Buddhism, every single day. Every day you have to look and take responsibility, not just once a year. Anyway, if you've ever been to Israel and also Eastern Europe, Yeah, if you've ever been to Eastern Europe, like especially like Poland, then you see that World War II is alive and well in some places in this world. You know, the effect of World War II is there. Yeah, and especially in Israel, because so many families came there after World War II because they couldn't go back to their homes in Europe. They had been destroyed. And, you know, so nearly, I mean, the whole country is it's kind of like a country with PTSD, you know, because of the history of the country and how it got founded. So people walk around with this, you know, there's a certain thing of never again. I'm sure you've heard this, never again. You know, they killed us before. And then people criticize the Jews saying, you know, you didn't fight back. You just voluntarily went into the camps. But so there's very much a feeling in Israel, we will not let anything happen to our people again like that. Okay? So there's this toughness, yeah, and this kind of fear. Yeah, because of the fear, it comes out as toughness. And so I was leading a retreat on Yom Kippur in a very peaceful kibbutz up in the north. And we had been talking about anger and hatred and forgiveness and so on. So I led a meditation with all of us imagining that we were together with Chenrezig, the Buddha of compassion, and we were walking through Auschwitz or Dachau or wherever. But we were together with the Buddha of compassion. And so everywhere we went and, you know, saw what happened in each place, we had compassion, not only for the people who were the victims, but also we practice having compassion for the perpetrators. Because the perpetrators clearly, first of all, they weren't happy people. Yeah. If you are a happy, content person, you don't go out and oppress other people and murder people. Yeah. If you look at what happened in World War I, the peace treaty of Versailles at the end of World War I, all the economic things going on in Germany, you can see how, you know, the Nazi movement took on. It doesn't mean it's good, it was horrible, but you can understand some of the causes and conditions for it. So we went through this whole meditation of just forgiveness everywhere through the whole camp. Yeah, and it was phenomenal. It was really phenomenal how people came out of that meditation. Yeah. Yeah, because it really, you know, it changes. I don't have to look at life that way. I can see people's goodness. Mm-hmm. So that's an example of transforming the relationship, meaning transforming our attitude. Yeah. What was it? I got an email from somebody just recently. Oh, now I remember who it was. And they were saying, you know, because of the Holocaust, that they never wanted to go to Germany. They weren't Jewish, they were Chinese, actually. And they said, you know, he had no interest in going to Germany. But now he met somebody who's German, so he wants to go and see what the country's like. Okay? But, you know, so you can see here how prejudice against certain groups gets made. You know, some people in that group, or even one person in that group, act in a certain way. And then you say everybody in the whole group. So even how many years after the end of World War II, he didn't want to go to Germany. Yeah. The people who were the Nazis, most of them have died. Yeah. And the few that are still old are in wheelchairs and with dementia, you know. A few of them, the US, you know, certain people, they're still catching a few of these old Nazis. But, you know, why we don't need to put everybody together in a group and say everybody's bad, or I have to be fearful of all these people. Yeah. Because that, when we have that kind of mentality, our mind is not very happy. Yeah. When you're always looking, you go, and everywhere you go, you know, who's dangerous? Who's dangerous? Who's going to hurt me? Who's going to, you know, think bad of me just because of this, that, the other thing? Yeah. Then that really harms our mode, you know. We may say, may I be of benefit to all beings, but when we're like this, you know, I don't trust you, or I'm going to clobber you before you clobber me, yeah, then our wish to be of benefit, you know, doesn't have a fighting chance. So it's forgiveness in this way is really important. Yeah. This relates very much to the idea of acceptance. Yeah, something happened. We accept that. It might have been horrible, and the people who did it out of horrible motivations because their mind was afflicted. Yeah, but I can have compassion for them because they were under the influence of their mental afflictions. Yeah, I can accept that this thing happened, even though it was horrible and I don't want it to happen again. But I can also now approach similar situations and those people involved in that prior situation. I can approach it in a different way. I don't have to rerun the past. Yeah, I don't have to clobber somebody before they clobber me. Yeah. So, yeah, so just to get, I'm jumping around here, but you know, it's okay. But acceptance, you know, we accept what happens. It doesn't mean that what happened was okay. We just accept that at this moment, the reality is that action happened. Or at this moment, the reality is, you know, my stomach aches. Or you know, somebody I really love has cancer. That's just the reality of what is. If we can accept that, then we can transform the situation and do something good about it. But if we don't accept the reality, yeah, and we're always upset and angry about it, okay, then we're putting ourselves in a box. You know, the situation with that assistant I was talking to you about, if I had clung on to that, he did this, he did this, he did that, I can never trust anybody. Then, if I come out of the situation, one person doing something, I can never trust anybody, then I'm not going to have good relationships with anybody. Yeah, because instead of me lowering my expectations and accepting people the way they are, I'm going to continue expecting perfection, and I'm going to continue being fearful of people letting me down because I had that experience. Yeah, and that's not a very uncomfortable way to live your life. Yeah, or you go to the extreme of, well, you know, they're nice to me, but I don't trust they're being nice to me, so I'm going to dump them before they can dump me. And you have people in relationships who are like that. Yeah, also. not very helpful. Okay, so acceptance is just acceptance of the present. Okay, repeat, of the present, that the present is what it is, and the past is what it was. Okay. Acceptance does not mean I accept the future is going to be the same way. Okay. It just means, okay, I accepted that. Now I have the opportunity to change. I have the opportunity to do things in a different way, to think in a different way, to transform my emotions to something that is more helpful rather than just staying in my same old rut. Okay? And then that, so accepting the present gives you the mental space to change the future. Okay? When we can't accept the past or the present, then we live in a mental world of fear, revenge, lack of trust, and we often just recreate the same situation. Yeah, but we can accept that happen. That doesn't mean it's gonna happen again in the future. I can look at things differently. Yeah, and I think in the case of when there's abuse, child abuse and so on, that this is one way of people can, if they can come to that point of that happened, it is not happening anymore. And the fact that it happened in the past doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Yeah, but I can look at the world differently now. Yeah. And then that gives you so much space. Yeah. You have so much space. Okay, we better stop. I didn't get to the fourth of the four opponent powers. I better mention it quickly. Okay. The fourth is you do some kind of remedial behavior. Okay. So you do some volunteer work. The Buddhist practices we have of making offerings, of making prostrations, volunteering at the Dharma Center or the temple or the monastery, whatever it is, volunteering at a hospital or, a refugee center, whatever, doing some kind of action with a good motivation, yeah, that is kind of making up, we're doing something good to make up for what we did in the past.
So I have a question on that. Does that mean I need to have for everything that I have regret for, I need to have like one specific action?
No.
Okay,
No.
because I found this to be very unnatural. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I felt like if I'm just saying, yes, I'm doing my morning and evening practice or something like that also, so it's kind of sometimes for me a struggle to really, I don't know, it feels like as if I need an alibi or something.
Yeah. No, it doesn't have to be, I lied at first grade, so I have to do this. And then I lied the next day of first grade, and I have to do that. Yeah. It's you can lump them together, too. There are some things that we did that it's like a very strong action, a specific thing, and we can just say, I will never do that again. And then there are other things we see, like, our little white lies that aren't so little and not so white. Yeah, but they're definitely lies. Those things you can kind of lump together. You can think of different examples of it because that gives you more energy to purify, But then, you can think all the times that I lied and do it all at once. But then, you know, there's so many opportunities during the day to do kind things for other people. And so, you know, you can always think, oh, this is part of my purification practice. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I have a question about something you said a little earlier. Does saying it's okay to have your own talents kind of as like, I guess it'd almost be like an antidote to a certain extent to like kind of the lower sense of pride.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean you're also grasping though at the transitory self? Because you're like, oh, I have talents, so I am like, I have inherent things to myself that make me.
I'm so good. I'm wonderful. I'm better than everybody else. Yeah. So I've stopped being the worst one. Now I am the best one. And everybody should realize it and do prostrations to me and make offerings to me because I have transformed myself and I am, you know, I'm like almost Buddha again. Yeah. You know, except that I did this and like that. But that was all other people's fault. Yeah. No, so recognize your own talents and abilities is not a reason to get arrogance. Yeah, arrogance is another mental affliction to be eliminated on the path. Yeah, I mean, do you think the Buddha is arrogant? If Buddha were alive, you know, would he just strut into this room? I'm the real wise one, man. You know, you bow down to me. Yeah, and you can place your offerings here. Actually, I need a bigger bowl for the offerings. Yeah. So no, it's not recognizing your abilities and talents isn't an excuse to be arrogant.
So how would you go about not, you know, falling into that trap of arrogance and pride?
Well, you just, okay, how do you have that talent? Were you born with that talent?
No.
Then how did you get it?
By other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other people taught you. They trained you. They encouraged you. What right do you have to feel arrogant as if that talent is yours inherently all by yourself because you're so wonderful?
So then you use kind of dependent arising?
It's dependent, yeah. Look at all those people. I have that ability because of the kindness of those people. Yeah? So I have to repay the kindness of the people. It's, you know, not strut around like I'm King Kong. Yeah. 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 So, yeah, when you really train your mind in seeing the kindness of others, it really changes things in you. Mm-hmm.